Racing to the 2020 Kentucky Derby, and this time we take a look at the Kentucky Derby Future Wager Pool number 5. Yesterday, you can take a look at part 1. We went from Art Collector all the way to number 11, King Galarmo. So check out the link above. Today we're going to take a look at Man in the Can. The Arkansas bred picked up his second straight victory the last time out in open company, and right now he's going to be pointing for the Bluegrass Stakes. Impressive victory the last time out. Really like the way he settled and strided out down the lane. He seemed to really be kind of a push-button type horse, and the Brisnet speed figure came back at 93 off that effort at Churchill Downs. Max Player, the Son of Honor Code, big third place finish in the Belmont Stakes. Now, Max Player had a long layoff going into that race, and this is one of those horses that if you want to take a chance on, maybe still developing, he definitely was slow in the Withers Stakes in February, but he could be developing. I think a lot of people think the honor codes are going to develop later. So Max Player is the type of horse that maybe in a pool 5, you throw him in a couple of exactas, play him a small win bet if he's 30-1, because he still has a little bit of upside, and some of these horses just don't have the upside. Money Moves is a horse that Todd Pletcher rested after a February race in March, and he was working out, and then they stopped on him, and now they're going to come back. I'm not sure he's really being pointed for the Kentucky Derby. I think he's more of a Jerkins type horse, maybe a mile. They're going to take their time with him. So even though he's 30-1 in the morning line, I think a horse like Money Moves is a horse that you're going to want to probably pass on in pool number 5. There should be some better options. Mr. Big News picked up a Preakness automatic bid by winning his Oaklawn Park race. Then they rested him, did not run him in the Matt Wynn Stakes. Been working out now, pointing possibly for the Bluegrass Stakes. We'll see a couple of other options on the table. Indiana Derby is one of them. And right now, Mr. Big News, distance pedigree, Giants Causeway out of a Galileo mare. So a lot of turf here, but also a lot of distance, and he could be the type of horse that's getting better. Now, the last race, he picked up the pace fractions on a contested pace, so that win was probably a little better than look, but he's always shown a little bit of potential, and I always like it when a horse just continuously runs long, as they kind of can, if they can put some of that speed into him, especially with a distance pedigree, they take just a little bit longer to develop. So Mr. Big News, kind of a 50-1 shot with a chip in a chair if you want to take a shot with him. Again, a little bit of upside. Mystic Guide, 50-1 in the morning line. Godolphin trainee picked up a nice win, 2 back in a maiden race by 5 lengths. Then chased home Tap It to Win on the day that Tap It to Win just did not stop on the front end. He did outduel Country Grammar in that race. I think Mystic Guide still has a little bit of upside. Will he go to the Haskell? Will he point for maybe the Peter Pan, something like that? This is a horse I think you could put a little bit of side bets on, especially if you get 40, 50-1 or in a few exactas, and possibly come into some have some action on Derby Day. New York Traffic, he has the points pretty much. Now they just got to get him to the race on September the 5th. He's going to point for the Haskell, and right now that looks like Authentic, maybe Ete Indian, and New York Traffic and Chivalry could be the top 4 in that race. New York Traffic kind of runs on the front end. He doesn't need the lead, and his Brisnet speed figures have kind of maxed out right now, 90, 96, 95. In order to really be a threat, he's got to get up to that 98, 99 range, and I'm not sure he's going to do that with his running style. He's out here outran his pedigree, $365,000 in earnings. He's an honest horse. He seems to, the fact that he's forwardly placed every time, he could have one of those breakthrough victories kind of coming through if somebody else doesn't fire, but he'll be on the lead and could give you a thrill. Again, at the right price, 40, 50-1 here, he may get in the gate and give you some action. They're definitely pointing for the Kentucky Derby. Pneumatic, a 4th place finish in the Belmont Stakes after a third place finish against Maxfield in the Matt Wynn. He's another one lightly raced. I'm just not sure he's improving incrementally enough to really be a factor in the next 70 days, though. I think this horse is a horse who could have a big 4-year-old campaign. That's where I'm going to target him at. He's a son of Uncle Mo out of a Tappet mare. Winchell trying to get to the race with this one. I think they just may be pressing on the pedal a little bit to the metal too much here, and kind of trying to point him in the right direction rather than giving him the time he needs and maybe a confidence builder for Pneumatic. 30-1 in the morning line. Rushy, I think he's a little overmatched. He was 3rd against Honor AP and Authentic, but really no match for those top 2. That puts him in that tier of 17th to 20th place. He'll probably go up in the shared belief for a race like that, and I'm not sure he'll face up against Honor AP again. So he's going to have to back his way into the Derby, and I just think he'll be just as long on Derby Day as he's going to be in pool number 5. 1,000 words pointing for the Los Ale Derby coming up. Been working steadily since a couple of disappointing efforts where he was bet down in the San Felipe and the Oaklawn Stakes. Had a nice work 3 back, a 58-3, then came back with a 7 furlong move and then a 6 furlong move. So he's kind of pointing in the right direction, 50-1. I think they want to get to the Derby, and he does got some points, 25 points. So he's kind of in that hunt, and I think he's a horse. If he has the points, he'll run in the race. That's probably the best recommendation for him right now. And it did seem like he's kind of a grinder. I think we're still trying to determine what 1,000 words running style is. Tiz the Law, of course, the winner of the Belmont Stakes, winner of 5 of 6. He's your favorite, 7-2 on the morning line. He'll probably be right around 3-1. Maybe try to hook up a few exactas with him if you think they're going to pay longer than on Derby Day. A horse like maybe Max Player or somebody like 1,000 Words or somebody that he hasn't faced that people aren't going to assume there's a natural rivalry with. And maybe you can get, $150 on that this weekend, but you got to watch the payoffs. Tiz the Law, there's really no advantage. I think he's going to be 5-2 on Derby Day. And so I think you're just going to get that here in pool number 5. I mean, the only way he's really 7-5 or 8-5 is if you get a couple of the other main contenders out of the race. So Tiz the Law, I'm just not sure the value's there 70 days out. And if he runs in the Travers, I guess if you bet him before that race, you could probably still get 5-2. I just don't think he's going to go down. So take him in pool 6 at 5-2 rather than pool 5 at 5-2. Uncle Chuck, yes, the car dealers are at it again. The owners of McKinsey and Opportunity now have Uncle Chuck on the trail. Big maiden victory, but boy, this pedigree, the mare has produced some fast horses, but they don't last long. Can't get too excited about this one having a long career, but they did wait longer for him to make his debut. 88 Brisnet speed figure in his debut, but I just don't know how he gets to the Derby off 3 races or 2 races. So Uncle Chuck is one I'd pass on. All 3-year-old fillies, 23. That could be Gammon. It could be Swiss Skydiver. We'll see. Right now you really have the big 3, Tiz the Law, Honor AP, and Authentic, and then after that, the slim pickings. Maybe you'd rather take a shot at 10-1 on getting a filly in there, and then all other 3-year-olds. I just don't think anybody's going to develop at this point. I think you're safe picking one of these top 23 horses. There'll be a couple of horses that develop, but you've already got your lightly raced horses in Suzanne and Uncle Chuck. And then you cover the fillies with the 23. I just don't see an all other really be a viable option unless you did it in the bottom half of the exacta. That's a look at the part 2 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager. Who do you like in this pool? Remember, hit subscribe, smash that like button so we get more views, and share this horse racing video with all your friends. It's part 2 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager, pool number 5. Part 1 was up, watch that, as we race you to the 2020 Kentucky Derby.